He didn't know that the wine at dinner that night would mark the beginning of the end. 10 years beside a woman he saw as his rock, his love, his home. And then, one conversation, one sentence, sharp enough to shatter everything like an axe through thin ice. "I think we should have an open marriage," she said, and in that moment, something in his mind just flipped. What followed felt like slow motion, awkward excuses, talk of liberation, a new chapter, modern relationships. But the truth was far simpler. She already had someone. He could feel it. And now, everything he believed in was crumbling beneath the weight of pretty words and ugly actions. But this isn't a story about a broken man. It's about what happens when someone stares into the darkest part of love, survives betrayal, stands tall against hypocrisy, and most importantly, responds. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watched this video from. Now let's get started. For 10 years, I believed I was part of a strong, loving partnership. I never thought I'd hear the woman I married, Hazel, suggest we turn our monogamous marriage into something open. We had crafted a life that felt solid, fulfilling. Her career in marketing was on an upward climb, and I was gradually moving closer to my goal of illustrating comic books professionally. I felt a real, passionate bond between us, genuine and unshakable. But then one evening, she came home carrying a strange new energy I couldn't quite place. During dinner, she let out a long breath and looked at me with a seriousness that sent a chill down my spine. "Alistair, I've been giving something a lot of thought lately," she said slowly. "I think we should try having an open marriage." My fork slipped, hitting the plate with a loud clink. "What are you talking about?" I asked, stunned. "Where is this even coming from?" "I miss the excitement," she said with unsettling calm. "The feeling of being wanted, of being chased." "Excitement?" I echoed, fighting to steady my voice. "You're willing to throw everything we have into chaos just because you miss flirting?" "Hazel, this isn't some college fling," she bristled. "You're stuck in the past, Alistair. I'm not ending what we have. I'm trying to expand it. If we approach this with honesty, it can work." "So, you expect me to be okay with you sleeping with other people?" I asked, my voice barely hiding the disbelief. She launched into a long, rehearsed explanation. She claimed it wasn't about betrayal, but about empowerment, about rekindling the spark of being seen, desired by others. "It's a form of liberation," she argued. "This doesn't mean I love you any less. But if you say no, you're just proving you're jealous, controlling. Love should be able to withstand something like this." I sat there, speechless, trying to process the person in front of me. Was this really Hazel? The woman I had shared my life with for a decade? "I've heard this story before," I said eventually, fingers interlocked, my gaze fixed on her. "Videos online, forums, husbands whose wives suddenly want open marriages." Her eyes sparked like I had just given her validation. "And do you know what they all say?" I continued. "Almost every time, the wife already has someone lined up, or she's already involved with someone else." Her confident expression faltered. Her gaze dropped, her lips tightening. The silence stretched between us like an accusation. "So," I said, every word deliberate, "who is he, Hazel?" "There's no one else," she shot back, her voice rising in protest. "How can you even suggest that?" "What else am I supposed to think?" I replied sharply. "You're asking for permission to be with other men, and you act like it's just a harmless idea." What followed was a chaotic mess of denials, justifications, and idealistic ramblings. She insisted she wasn't cheating, that she only believed in the idea of an open marriage. But I'd had enough. "No," I said, voice firm and cold. "Absolutely not. And now you've given me a reason to seriously question everything about this marriage." I held her gaze, letting the silence hang once more. "You know what those same husbands say? The moment your partner brings this up, I paused, delivering the line like a judgment. That's the moment you should start preparing for divorce. Her face went pale. Alistair, please don't say that. That's not what I wanted. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just exploring something. Can't we talk more? I love you. I don't want to lose us. But the words rang hollow. I stood up, gathered my half-eaten meal, and scraped it into the trash. The food now tasted like nothing. I rinsed my plate, dropped it in the sink, and grabbed my wallet, keys, and coat. She stayed seated at the table, silent and still. The days that followed were quiet. Hazel, once vibrant and outspoken, now moved through the house like a ghost. She spoke less, her energy dimmed. Part of me hoped reality had caught up with her, that maybe she was starting to understand just how close she'd come to unraveling everything. But that illusion didn't last long. One evening, she stood in the doorway to the living room, hesitant, almost shy. Alistair, she began, voice gentle, I've been doing more reading on polyamory, on open relationships. I think it's time I tell you everything. Because if there's going to be any hope for trust between us, it has to start with honesty. She sat across from me, her fingers interlaced so tightly her knuckles turned white. I went about this the wrong way, she said. There's something I haven't told you. I shifted in my seat, met her eyes directly. Okay, I'm listening. She inhaled deeply, so deeply I wondered if she'd ever let the breath out. There's a colleague, she finally confessed. His name is Justin. We've been involved. I repeated her words quietly, my voice growing colder. Involved? Are you saying you've slept with him? She nodded, eyes unable to meet mine. It wasn't just physical, she murmured. He makes me feel wanted again, alive, beautiful. I stared at her, my pulse pounding in my ears. After 10 years, the woman I knew was now a stranger. So, you're in love with him? I asked, each word coated in frost. This whole open marriage talk was just a smokescreen, a way to justify what you were already doing. No, she said quickly, defensive. It's not like that. I'm telling you now because I want to fix this. I still love you. I thought maybe we could find a way forward. Together. An open marriage could give us that chance. She reached again for that same word. It's about being modern, Alistair. Evolving. It's not cheating. It's about growth, about shared experiences. Modern? I echoed, a bitter laugh escaping. You think this is progressive? You betray me, hide an affair, and then dress it all up in buzzwords? I shook my head, the disgust too heavy to contain. You're not evolving, Hazel. You're just being selfish, and I won't stay in a marriage built on lies. That's not true, Hazel, and you know it, whether you admit it or not. Her mouth tightened, her eyes sparking with indignation. What's dishonest, she fired back, is how unwilling you are to even consider another perspective. You're stuck in your own rigid beliefs. It's like trying to breathe underwater, Alistair. She pushed herself up from the couch, voice rising. And yes, I resent that. I stood too, unable to stay grounded in that moment. You resent it? I echoed, trying to keep my voice steady. You resent that I fought for this marriage? That I respected the vows we made? That I trusted you? She didn't miss a beat. I resent your refusal to grow. Marriage shouldn't be a prison sentence based on antiquated expectations. I want more from life. I need to feel like I'm living. And Justin gives me that. A harsh laugh escaped me, dry and cutting. Oh, I see. And what am I supposed to get out of this grand vision of yours? Am I just supposed to play house while you sleep with your co-worker? You act like this open marriage idea is mutual, but every argument you've made has been all about you. Her reaction gave her away, a subtle flinch, the first crack in her armor. She hadn't thought about what I might want. After a pause, she offered weakly, You could see other women too. It doesn't have to be one-sided. I laughed again, this time colder. How generous of you. Now you're trying to wrap your guilt in equality. You keep saying we, but it's always been you. I never asked for anyone else. I took a breath, anger thick in my chest. I wanted my wife, the person I thought I married. But she's gone, isn't she? For a second, something flickered behind her eyes. Regret, maybe. But she lifted her chin, steeling herself. I won't apologize for needing more than this, she said, her voice calm but firm. And if that's something you can't accept, maybe you're right. Maybe this marriage is already over. The words dropped like a verdict. Final. I felt the silence expand, deep and suffocating. And yet, oddly enough, some invisible pressure eased inside me. I looked at her, this stranger wearing my wife's face, and grief tangled with fury. You're right, I said softly. It is. I told her I'd reach out to a lawyer the next day. We could make the divorce official, handle the paperwork in the coming weeks. She looked stunned, her mouth parting as if to speak, but I was already turning away. I walked down the hall, packed a few essentials, and moved into the guest room. I thought that would be the end of it. But Hazel wasn't ready to let it die quietly. She rallied her closest allies, her mother, Addison, her sister, Sabrina, and two longtime friends, Peggy and Karen. One afternoon, I was sitting at the dining table, casually eating a burger and watching a video online, when they descended like a well-organized army. Hazel led the charge, but Addison quickly took the reins, sliding into the seat across from me with smooth confidence. Alistair, sweetheart, we need to talk. I set my food aside deliberately, folding my arms as I looked them over. Hazel took her place beside Addison. The rest formed a line behind them like some kind of tribunal. The air thickened, the pressure unmistakable. I knew what this was. It wasn't a discussion. It was an ambush. Alistair, Addison said again, sweet but solemn. Please, just listen with an open heart. We're all here because we care. But you need to understand the broader perspective. Relationships today aren't what they used to be. They don't have to be these stifling, traditional boxes. Ethical non-monogamy can be liberating for both of you. I arched an eyebrow. Liberating? Is that the euphemism we're using for betrayal now? Sabrina rolled her eyes with a scoff. Come on, Alistair. This isn't betrayal. It's called being honest. Hazel had the courage to speak her truth. Do you know how many women suffer in silence for years? And now I'm supposed to applaud her for cheating and giving it a trendy name? I snapped, my voice chilled. Peggy chimed in, voice placating. Okay, maybe she didn't handle everything perfectly, but she's trying to include you in this new chapter. That's what ethical non-monogamy is supposed to be. Honesty, mutual respect, communication. Mutual respect, I repeated, anger flaring. So me not letting my wife turn our relationship into a sideshow makes me the villain? Yes, Karen cut in sharply. She stepped forward, resting a hand on the back of Hazel's chair. Her eyes locked onto mine, burning. You're afraid of change. You cling to these outdated ideals because you're terrified of someone like Justin. It's honestly pathetic. My fists clenched involuntarily. I couldn't care less about Justin, I growled, but it's clear you all do. You're projecting, Karen sneered. You know deep down you can't fulfill her anymore. Justin makes her feel something real, and that scares you. Hazel turned to her, clearly shaken, mouthing no, trying to reel her back. But it was too late. The damage was sealed the moment they barged in. I let out one more bitter laugh and shook my head. At this point, I don't care anymore. Not about her, not about Justin, and definitely not about whatever self-righteous performance this is. I locked my gaze on Karen, rhythmically tapping my finger against the table to punctuate every word. I don't care anymore about who Hazel is sleeping with. Then I turned my eyes on the rest of them. You all seem oblivious to the fact that, for me, this marriage is already done. I let out a breath through clenched teeth, throwing my hands up in sheer frustration. This goes deeper than just feelings. This touches my core, my values, who I am. My eyes swept the room, landing on each of them with unwavering force. You don't get to make a lifelong commitment to someone, knowing exactly what matters most to them, only to flip the script later. What I'm talking about, I continued, is the clear divide between a monogamous commitment and whatever you think this is. One of them opened their mouth to respond, but I raised my hand, cutting them off. Don't waste your breath trying to rebrand betrayal with some trendy euphemism. I saw the annoyance flash across their faces, but I didn't budge. This is about trust, too, don't forget that. And Hazel obliterated it the moment she decided to sneak around and sleep with someone else. Until now, Hazel had been oddly quiet. Then she finally spoke up. I made a mistake, Alistair. I'm trying to make it right. I want us to grow from this. Grow? I repeated, letting the sarcasm bleed into my voice. You honestly believe dragging strangers into our marriage is the way to strengthen it? That's delusional. It's not delusional, Sabrina shot back, her tone sharp. Polyfidelity is a legitimate relationship model. It's about mutual care, transparency, and agreed-upon boundaries. If you could drop the macho ego for 1 second, like Hazel said, you might actually understand it. Oh, right, I snapped. It's never just about intimacy until it suddenly becomes so. Every time someone talks about this lifestyle, it's about how liberating it is to sleep with just anyone. You're being close-minded, Peggy chimed in, disappointment heavy in her voice. If you could let go of that toxic jealousy, you might see how freeing this could be. Hazel's being honest with you, she added. She's offering a new version of your relationship. But you're too afraid to step outside your bubble, too afraid to evolve. I'm not afraid, I said, standing up slowly. I'm grounded. I believe in commitment, in promises that mean something, in honoring the vows you take. I believe in monogamy, and if that makes me old-fashioned or rigid in your eyes, fine. I'll wear that label with pride. But don't you dare try to paint me as the villain for wanting a marriage that matters. Karen crossed her arms, expression hard. Your ego is so inflated, you can't even recognize an opportunity for growth. This could have been a transformation, but your insecurities won't let you imagine Hazel being happy with anyone but you. I narrowed my eyes. Holding her back? Let me be crystal clear. I don't give a damn if she walks out that door right now and jumps into bed with Justin or the whole damn neighborhood. She's the one who cheated. She's the one who broke her word. She means nothing to me anymore. As far as I'm concerned, she's the public's problem now. And now she's got the nerve to turn this around on me, to gaslight me into thinking I'm the one at fault, and the rest of you are eating it up. I pointed toward the door. I've had enough of this circus. All of you, get out, now. Hazel's face flushed red, arms folded tightly, eyes blazing. You don't get to call me a whore just because you're angry. I'm still your wife, Alistair. I laughed. A cold, empty sound. Not in any way that still matters. I haven't seen any divorce papers yet, but don't worry. That's coming. She threw her arms up. You're impossible. You're so obsessed with being right that you'd rather burn everything down than consider a different perspective. No, I said firmly. You set it all on fire the moment your wants became more important than the promises we made. I'm just clearing out the ashes now, taking out the trash. I pointed straight at her. And don't worry about the paperwork. That's already in motion. I've just got a few loose ends to tie up. The room fell silent. The tension thickened like smoke. No one said a word. They just stared, speechless, maybe furious, maybe stunned. Whatever intervention they had in mind had fallen apart completely. Without another word, I grabbed my coat and headed for the door. My attorney will be in touch. Best of luck with your self-discovery journey. You'll need it. And with that, I left them all standing there in stunned silence. Even after that volcanic fallout, I didn't file right away. Naturally, that gave Hazel the wrong idea. She clung to the illusion that maybe, somehow, there was still a chance. Her family, her friends, they all kept reaching out, begging me to reconsider, to stay, to give this so-called open marriage a shot. They mistook my reluctance to leave as a sign their words were getting through, that I might be having second thoughts. What they didn't realize was that I was only stalling, buying time until the private investigator I'd hired came back with solid proof that Hazel and Justin were already involved. I needed undeniable evidence, something concrete that would stand up if she tried to twist the narrative during the divorce, especially with her friends so eager to back her up. It took a few weeks. After our volatile discussions about opening the relationship, Hazel managed to hold herself back, for a time. But her proposal that I accept a degrading arrangement where she could be with someone else while I stood by proved she was already halfway out the door. Eventually, her self-control gave way. The footage the investigator provided confirmed everything I'd feared. Watching it was like pouring gasoline on old embers. But instead of exploding, I redirected the flames. I focused on anything that brought me peace. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The woman I'd once adored, my wife, was gone. What remained was a shadow of her, someone who cloaked herself in modern ideals while betraying her commitments with a coworker. She'd become manipulative, dishonest, unrecognizable. The moment I held that report in my hands, I initiated the divorce. It was the only path forward, the only way to free myself from something toxic and start to rebuild. There was no salvaging what we once had. She had crossed a boundary I couldn't overlook. That's not to say I walked away without doing something about it. Maybe, just maybe, I mailed an anonymous package to her workplace with everything the investigator found. Who knows? Take this as a cautionary tale. Don't let someone weaponize ideology to pressure you into abandoning your core principles. Cling to your values, if they're grounded in truth and self-respect. But that's a conversation for another day. Hi, I'm Hazel. I know that many of you have already made up your mind about me, but I feel the need to tell the truth, and maybe end this somehow. At the time, I really didn't believe that Alistair would see it through. He mentioned the divorce. He threw it in my face during an argument. But after our last violent confrontation in front of my mom and my friends, when he still hadn't left, I convinced myself that it was just another empty threat. I thought we'd find a way back eventually. But when these divorce papers appeared, I realized how wrong I was, and that he wasn't done with me yet. Barely a few weeks into the legal process, I was called into a meeting with HR. Justin was there too, pale and clearly shaken, avoiding my gaze. My stomach turned. I knew something was off. The HR representative's tone was clinical, expression unreadable, as she detailed what had been submitted. An anonymous complaint, complete with surveillance clips, still shots, time logs, and even copies of my text messages. I still have no clue how those got out. The case was airtight. Every incriminating detail was laid bare. Alistair had exposed everything. It couldn't have been anyone else. I tried to spin it, tried to soften the blow, even tried, God forgive me, to position myself as the victim. I leaned hard into the language of solidarity and in a shameful moment pinned the blame on Justin, claiming he manipulated me. But none of it mattered. The company had a strict policy against relationships between supervisors and subordinates, and the evidence painted a clear picture. I was a willing participant. The HR rep saw through my story. So much for sisterhood. By the end of the week, both Justin and I were out of a job. Losing my career felt like being gutted, but worse still was what followed. Justin, the man I had risked everything for, told me he couldn't move past what I'd done, especially how I tried to deflect responsibility onto him. Betrayal, he called it. The same word Alistair had used. And honestly, he was right. When things collapsed, I tried to protect myself at his expense. If he'd stayed with me after that, I would have lost all respect for him. He would have been just another emotional crutch until someone better came along. I know how awful that sounds, but it's the truth. That was my mindset. Justin ended it face to face and disappeared as quickly as he'd arrived. In the months that followed, I attempted to rebuild, but nothing lasted. The men I dated either ran from my past or didn't want anything real. No one was interested in committing to someone who'd blown up her own life, both marriage and career. Late at night, when everything was still, my thoughts would drift to Alistair, to the life we shared, the love that once meant everything. He wasn't flawless, but he loved me wholly, and I threw it all away. For what? A fleeting sense of independence? A fantasy that quickly dissolved into chaos? I heard, through mutual acquaintances, that Alistair was doing well. He'd gone back to his art, found his footing, and was even seeing someone new. He deserved it. He deserved joy. And I had no one but myself to blame for not being part of that future. The version of me that destroyed our marriage, that wasn't the real me. But it didn't matter. The harm was done. To any woman reading this, take it from me, the grass isn't always greener. Marriage demands effort, real, painful, ongoing work. There are no easy fixes, no quick solutions. If you're with a good man, value him. And know, opening the relationship isn't a clever solution. Believe me, I tried that. It wrecked everything. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.